Boom. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. So, kind of wanted to talk about a bunch of things. Hopefully, I can get them all my ducks in a row. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to start this off with free will versus determinism. Um, like most, so I was listening to Heraclitus last night, or somebody talk about Heraclitus, and they're talking about contradiction and the blending of opposites. and how that relates to paradoxes. There's a lot more paradoxes in the world than people care to admit or point out. I guess they know it, but they don't point it out and make use of the teaching tool that it can be. And then, this leads to the split between determinism and free will. And it's kind of a both and, I think. Yes, there is determinism, and yes, there is free will. The free will requires discipline to gain. Most people are in a state of determinism. They have to work their job to pay their bills to feed their family. To take upon free will is kind of to just wander off into the weeds. And you got to really be ready for the most likely your life is not going to be like everybody else's. And you're truly embodying your free will. But that's dangerous because your life becomes extremely selfish. You become an artist and a thinker or whatever it happens to be. You ever notice these most music artists aren't married, don't have a girlfriend, they're purely alone. You ever notice how like the greatest intellectuals are just alone? uh, that's part of it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's kind of like if you're going to be alone, take up your mantle and it'll be a very different path. I think it's kind of the embodiment of the left-hand path is you start working for wisdom as opposed for like the society around you. Although you do end up doing that, but it's after your death. People see what you did and they're like, oh, this is well, cool. And yeah, the discipline factor is huge, huge. Because when you do have free will, it's not really given to you freely. It's now you're on a deterministic path with free will. And like you have to fight yourself. And you don't just go with the flow anymore. You're really starting to like paddle upriver. And it's a very tough way to go. It's not, I don't recommend it. Um, this also goes for like the spiritual path. Now that I've started it and I'm really on it, I don't recommend it because you're now at odds with God in a way, and you have to constantly reconcile what you're doing with yourself. Otherwise, people will go mad and just freaking lose it. And it takes an incredible discipline of self to be like, you have to like reconcile what you've done every single day and like, you know, report to the big man upstairs as opposed to like if you just work and do what you're supposed to do, it's quite simple and you just follow the what do they call those things in the airport where it's just a walking escalator and make you walk faster, that's what like a life determined is like. And it's an incredibly potent observation that I haven't found made. Um, and, you know, the amount of people that are truly like groundbreaking intellectuals or like forward thinkers or anything like that are very few, very few. Because it feels like you're doing the wrong thing. And you constantly have to like, I think in a lot of cases it's what people outside of you will think is narcissism and things like that. And it's like, no, man, you're straight. We're straight up wrestling with God out here, and like, uh, not only that, but like, you're truly becoming an independent thinker, which requires so much uh, internal conflict and like reflection and study, and then you reflect on it, and then it's just never ending. And it's really you dedicate your life to it. Like it's a very similar path to like what a musician does or an artist. Like you disappear and you work with yourself, and like it's all you. Nobody's gonna help you out. Uh, and like it's very bottom of the barrel living a lot of the time. Uh, but that's where the good stuff lies. I don't know if gold floats to the bottom or sinks or floats or what the fuck floats to the top or sinks to the bottom. But that would be a good analogy if I knew. When it's a very lonely path, uh, antagonistic, because like by the nature of it, you're constantly like conflicting with forces, and it's very hard. It's not easy, and it requires a lot of discipline because you would normally just want to be like, oh, and just give up and become a lump, and like, but there is so much good stuff down deep in there. Like a lot of religious teachings talk about, you become nothing and then you become everything. Like when you truly erase the ego and reach a state of pure self, which is like you eliminate your like worldly ego existence and become the small s self, which is like your higher self in relation to God. So you're operating from purely a mental dimension, which is like where a lot of like theosis and these kind of things happen. And generally, oh, you run into a lot of muck and junk first. It's not like you get a freaking one-way ticket to the top at all. And yeah, uh, get some music going. And yeah, I think I'm going to shift from that to something else now. See if there's anything else I want to say. Free will determinism. Determinism is not necessarily a bad thing because you're in the slipstream and you can get a lot more done that way. And like you're not being Sisyphus. Sisyphus is like the left hand path of free will and determinism. Like every day you got to push that rock up, and then like You don't even get the satisfaction usually. It's kind of like a, yeah. Damn, I'm losing my train of thought on what I was thinking about. It's one of the hardest things is like when you're in this kind of state, you got to really work to like capture the thoughts that are like potent because they so easily just slip away. Son of a bitch. Damn, man, I really lost that one. Oh, thank God I remembered it. That's very satisfying. So, one of the interesting things about this path is like you can, if you dedicate yourself to the earth, you can never go wrong because like you are dedicating yourself to God. And there's a, I had like a lot of mystical experiences through people and like in relationship to like the elements. So you think of like there's like a spirit of the wind, spirit of the rain, spirit of the earth, spirit of volcanoes, and all these different like elemental beings. Like Steiner will talk about like you know, gnomes, which would be like earth spirits, elemental spirits, goblins, which are like uh, spirits of mines, like in relationship to metals and metallurgy. And then you have like water nymphs and like and air spirits, which are kind of like angels. I think. I think fire would probably be angels, like jinn and angels, or of fire, and the air would be like I don't know. I don't think they call them nymphs for the air. Let's see if we can find out. But like so we're in the end times, and it's like a very testy time because so few people like follow God's law, and like if you enter like an exceptional stage of dedication, He will like allow you to intercede for people, and like so what I recognized, this is like 5 years ago maybe, is like the problem of Yellowstone and like uh the caldera and like the possibility of like a world-ending eruption. And I took it upon myself as like, all right, you need to keep the pressure in the volcanic chamber down so we don't have like a massive Yellowstone eruption. And like in my being, it's like understanding like the pressure releases and like how our actions affect like the nature of the earth. Like, and the most vengeful thing we can get is a freaking volcanic eruption that'll really mess with our biosphere. And it was like, you gotta keep the pressure in the like lava chamber low. And like generally, or at least the way I saw that happens is like you have to disperse of that energy through humanity instead of like just uh like you gotta do a trade-off. And yeah, I think that's kind of part of like the struggles we're going through is like we're taking on our own karma instead of just like feeding it into the elemental spirits. Because if you get them too fired up, it'll produce like an entropy to extropy event. So it'd be like there's too much entropy in the lava chamber, and that gets launched out. And like you can spiritually understand like that process and intercede in that. And so another one was like we'd been going through major drought here in California for like 20 years maybe, and like the water levels and uh all of the reservoirs was like immensely low. And so I was like, all right, we need to bring like water back. This is like Operation Hydrate Earth. And we've had like 2 years now or 3 years of like immense rain, and like the reservoirs are actually almost filled up. Like in Arizona, the the water level has risen like back to capacity. The one here, I think it's Lake Mead. That still got a long way to go, but that's like a massive reservoir on the Colorado. And but the point, so like I had this spirit talk to me. It was like, whatever you do, make sure Lake Shasta stays full, like Lake Tahoe and stuff like that. And it's like, okay. And luckily we had like a whole bunch of like basically they filled up again. Shasta got a bunch of rain and snow. Same with Tahoe. And not only have we had less fires, but there's like a quicker response time on wildfires, which is like it's a good thing. But what they do to combat them with like the massive amount of fire retardant is toxifying the earth itself. And it's almost worse than just letting it burn up, because now you got like fire retardant blending into the soil. And that's gonna, I mean, good luck getting it out. It's there now. So, yeah, man. I really should just put on like a long wisdom track. And these are things that would sound like insane to people, you know? Is any of this recording? I wonder. And I don't think it is. Oh man, I think I got to do audio settings. I think I've totally screwed up. Oh, that would suck so hard.